everybody. Welcome to Blood and Donuts. I'm Tony.
And I'm Chris. Thanks, everybody, so much for joining.
Absolutely. We want to thank everybody who has subscribed to us on Apple Podcast and Spotify. And, of course, those folks watching us and subscribing on YouTube. Every week, we're just blown away by all the support that we've received in just a short amount of time. We love doing this podcast, but when we see the people who are engaging, subscribing, and watching and enjoying this podcast, it makes it that much better. So we just want to thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks. And give us some feedback, too. We love that. We're just a couple of guys goofing off doing what we love. So we love to hear how everybody likes us. And, yeah, leave us a like and a follow.
Absolutely. Chris and I, we've been friends for 25 years. Back in middle school, our parents, they would take us to a local rental store. We would rent these B horror films, classic horror films, you name it. We would stay up till the wee hours in the morning watching these horror films. And then all week at school, we would have these inside jokes, quotes, and also we would give each our very humble opinions about those horror films. Well, we wanted to somehow recreate that as adults. That's what you're listening to today. The Blood and Donuts podcast, where we upload a new episode every Saturday. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss anything. So we start by sharing some facts or like an overview, and then we will give you our rating, and then we will jump into spoilers, so scene by scene spoilers, and but first, before we do that, you'll know because we'll give our rating. Tell them how our rating works, Chris.
Yeah, so we rank on a scale of 1 through 13 donuts. 1 through 4 is a terrible movie. I would not go out of your way to spend any money on this. 5 through 8 is kind of a mid-tier. It's worth a rent if you have time. It's not terrible, but it's not elite. 9 through 12 is worth a view. Rent it if you need to, but definitely watch this film. 13 is a baker's dozen tier, which is a masterpiece and should be considered one of the best or most influential movies of all time. We also alternate our movie choices here. This one is mine. Whoever picks the movie goes first, and we are both in the dark about what the other thinks. I have no idea what he thinks of Krampus, but I'll figure out pretty soon.
Krampus, 2015, or Krampus. Krampus. Is that what the grandmother says? Krampus.
I'm gonna try to pronounce it like that, but I'll probably fail.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna stick with Krampus. Krampus.
Right.
They don't even say Krampus. It sounds very redneck. Krampus. Krampus gonna get you. Krampus. Krampus is a 2015 Christmas horror comedy film based on the eponymous character from Austro-Bavarian folklore, directed by Michael Dougherty. Written by Dougherty, Todd Casey, Zach Shields. This film stars Adam Scott, who's famous for Derek from Step Brothers. Remember Step Brothers?
No, I know him more for Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec.
He's been Wyatt.
Yeah. I like he was Rec. Derek. The whole Vanilla Ice, and I haven't had a carb in since '96 or something like that, and then he shows his abs or something. That's hilarious. Tony Collette, yeah, Allison Tolman. There's a whole bunch of actors in this, man.
Whole bunch Kushner's in there.
Yeah,
I like him.
Who's the bald guy? The bald redneck guy who used to be on SNL when we used to watch SNL back in the day.
It's Kushner, right?
Is it Kushner?
Yeah, David Kushner. He's on The Office as Todd Packer.
Yes,
he is Todd Packer.
Yes,
he's been in all kinds of
Michael
stuff.
Scott and Todd Packer. I love their relationship in the freaking Office. Man.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. A dysfunctional family squabbling causes a young boy to lose his festive spirit. Doing so unleashes the wrath of Krampus, a fearsome, horned demonic beast in ancient European folklore who punishes naughty children at Christmas time. As Krampus lays siege to the neighborhood, the family must band together to save one another from a monstrous fate.
I don't remember Krampus as a kid. It was always like the Grinch. Like the Grinch is, he's the one who ruins Christmas.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like somewhere in the mid 2000s, people started talking about it, and probably because they started making movies about it. But I mean, for such a long time,
Right.
Christmas was kind of like untouchable. You don't want to, like, because it is Christ's birthday. You know what I mean? This is Christmas
Yeah.
time. You don't want to touch it. You don't want to mess with that. So people, I think, were a little scared of bringing Krampus into this. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I like, there's what, Jack Frost and stuff like that,
Yeah.
like those, slasher films
Yeah.
featuring Christmas icons.
Don't
So,
forget Gremlins, dude.
come on.
Gremlins, man. That's a classic Christmas horror film.
Thanks, Corey Feldman.
Go back and look at that episode. We just reviewed Gremlins, that classic from the 1980s. It's a good one to watch with your kids around Christmas
It
time.
is.
Yeah. So inspiration from this film: ancient European legend of Krampus, a horned figure who punishes naughty children. We said that. Michael Dougherty, he directed this, but he also directed Trick or Treat. We've also reviewed that film.
Yep, and that is a good one. Looking back on it, that's probably one of my favorite ones that we reviewed.
Yeah.
Just from a fun standpoint, fun horror, and it's cool. I read that the Krampus, like the final design for this character, was kind of distilled over various like images and illustrations of the creature. So they took all those and like put them in a database and just got all the different characteristics for it. So. And I like the design is really cool on Krampus. I did like that.
Oh man, Krampus looked freaking awesome. Yeah. Krampus looked. He looked amazing. That mouth wide open. That opening scene where you finally see him, he's jumping from house to house. That looked good.
Yeah,
I thought so.
Yeah.
And how about Dougherty? Like Dougherty just went all like so. His horror film Trick or Treat just went all in on Halloween. Just went 100%. Like, is there a more Halloween horror film than Trick or Treat? And then his like he's gonna do Krampus, a very Christmas horror film. And that's what struck me about this film. This film is it takes elements from like Home Alone, Christmas Vacation. I mean, even the house looks like Kevin's house, the McAllister's house.
Yeah, it does.
You got cousin Eddie coming over basically from Christmas Vacation. You got the family coming. I don't know. It just borrows a lot of Christmas elements. What's funny is like, that opening, like Black Friday or Christmas shopping scene. It reminded me, like when Thanksgiving, this recent slasher that just came out, they had an opening Black Friday scene, which was very similar to this one, but this one came out 8 years before. So I did not know that. I'd never seen this film. So I feel like it borrowed from this a little bit. So I thought that was kind of cool.
And they did make it a point to be like half of it almost seemed, it was like it was split into 3 different acts, where the first part was like strictly Christmas. You're dealing with relatives, you're doing all this stuff. The second part is kind of building up the final act, like the bad guys and the monsters, whatever. And then the ending is, you're dealing with all these monsters. So he did make it a point to make it half the movie is like strictly Christmas before turning it into like that dark horror fantasy kind of deal.
Yeah. And to be honest, like when I was watching it there at the beginning, it was, I liked it. I love the Black Friday, or not, I keep saying Black Friday. I'm sorry. I love the shopping scene. I love the kid he was in a play and he fought some other guy. It was at a Christmas play. There was like Joseph from the manger scene was in there, but there was also like a reindeer in there and like a snowman. And he was just fighting. I loved all of that. I love the grandmother. The grandmother was in there making cookies in the kitchen, and she had a Christmas Carol and Jacob Marley on there on the tube. I love that whole setup. I'm a Christmas fan, so I love Christmas movies, so I love that setup of this. I really enjoyed the first 30 minutes of this film a lot.
Wow. So we're going to have some varying opinions there. I was not a fan of the first portion of this film.
Okay.
I didn't really like the family, the in-laws.
Yeah.
Or the sister coming in and stuff like that. I found them almost just insufferable in some ways, but we'll get into that when we get to the spoilers for sure.
Absolutely. There's animated sequences. This film features animated sequences that tell the backstory of Krampus, adding a visually distinct element to the storytelling. A lot of the effects were practical, but there was also some CGI with the gingerbread men that I saw. That's what I have notes on.
Yeah, you could see definitely see the CGI
Yeah.
versus the practical stuff.
Yes.
And I did like the mixture of both. I thought it worked okay. And, of course, all the, what do they call it? Krampus's, his toys or something.
Yes.
Like all of them I thought were fun. Each one had like a different thing that it did when it was kind of stalking the family stuff. So I thought it was really cool.
So I saw that this had a PG-13 rating. And all I knew about this film, it was just like the poster. There was like a snow globe, and there's like Krampus claw on top of the snow globe looking thing, and just this Krampus real creepily. And then I put it in. And I started watching it, and I was like, oh my god, this is PG-13. And then I watched that first 30 minutes, and I was like, why am I watching this by myself? I thought it was I really thought it was like a hardcore horror. Krampus is going to come and kill children, like that. I thought it was, it was more goofy. It was more comedy than I thought, so I actually watched the first 30 minutes twice, because I was like, I gathered my family the second time. I turned it off, and I was like, I gathered my family up in the movie room, and we all watched it together. So I enjoyed that. I like that. But that being said, it has a PG-13 rating. And so you're not seeing the kills on camera. There's not really none, is there?
A lot of the stuff just looks like they're being kind of taken away and stuff and disappearing, things like that. But they do a good job of keeping the kills, minimal there.
There's even some parts where like you would definitely say a cuss word, and they say like mother friggin', like.
Yeah. So I watched it twice also. I watched it once by myself, and then I was like, hey, maybe the wife would like this. Invited the kid too, but he just is his own thing. So he didn't watch it with us, but and so I think she liked it. And then it kind of gave me a better appreciation, because I watched it again with a more open mind. You know me, man. I like to get into the scary. I'm wanting to see a creepy, suspenseful, or a slasher, some blood.
You could be
pretty.
You could be pretty cynical too. You know what I mean? Like you could be sitting like, hurry up. All right, hurry up. Yeah, okay,
I've heard
I get
that.
it. I've seen that. Move on. You're pretty cynical when it comes to a lot of things. That's good though.
They don't call
that's
me
good though.
I'm
pretty positive when it comes to. I'm like, oh, that's fine. That's good. I like that. I don't know. Let's see, IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes. IMDb gives us a 6.2 out of 10, so it's like split down the middle. Critics gave it a 66% of critics enjoyed this film. 52% of audiences enjoyed this film. I know why that is. Because it is deceiving. Like I was deceived. I did not. I didn't. I went in there with I think you did too. I think you went in there thinking that we were getting a different film than what we got.
Yeah, the cover art does not match the tone.
Doesn't match at all.
The movie for the first 2/3. Now towards the end, you kind of get it. You're like, okay, this is where the fun is.
Yeah.
In the last part of it, but the beginning is definitely not the cover art. I did read too that the director, as you mentioned, did Trick or Treat. He said that Trick or Treat 2 is going to be a hard R film. He's like, it is going to be rated R. No questions asked, because I think that they kind of talked him down from R to PG-13 is what I read.
On this?
Yeah, for this movie.
Oh, I could see that. Well, in a sense, we've talked about this before with Gremlins. What else? What else was PG-13? Five Nights at Freddy's. This. I enjoy. I like a good. I like a horror film. I'm not gonna say good. Take that away. Subtract that. I like a horror film. When they're PG-13, I can watch it with my kids. I can enjoy it with my family. A lot of horror films in my house, I'm watching them by myself. A lot of horror films today are getting really messed up. You know what I mean? Like they're like crazy,
You're not going to watch Sleepaway Camp or Terrifier with the family. No, I mean, you're not going to do that.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not. Can you imagine watching Terrifier with my kids? I think the police would come and arrest me.
Probably. They would probably call the police on you.
Oh my gosh.
You mentioned the actors. Some of the actresses were good. I wasn't, and we've talked about this before. Every time there's kid actors,
Yeah.
they didn't do it for me in this one.
Okay.
I mean, you look at a movie like Black Phone,
Yeah.
and they are the freaking standard for
Yeah.
me now for kid actors in scary movies. These kid actors didn't do it for me. Even the lead, it wasn't strong for him. I liked Omi, her character. Obviously, we talked about David Kochner
I
as
agree.
Howard. Tone.
I
Oh,
agree
go
with
ahead.
the Omi character. I agree. She was one of the best actresses in this film.
She didn't have very many lines, but she had that
No.
aura about her.
Yeah, she looked like a very talented actress who had been here before. I didn't look her up or see what she had done, but she played a very good mysterious grandmother. But she had some confusing details about her too, which we could talk about a little bit later as well.
Yeah, we'll get into that. And I think the best kid actor, if you could call her a kid, was Beth, played by Stefania Owen. Yeah, she was Max's sister. She wasn't in the film for too long, but when she was there, she was kind of like the stronger of the kid actors, if you can call her a kid, probably mid-teens or whatever.
Yeah. I didn't like him that much. I wanted to like him. Like he was a sweet kid when the they're reading his note at the table. This is a spoiler, whatever. Like he's a sweet kid. He loves he has a good relationship with his grandmother and stuff like that. But you just don't you don't delve into him enough to really learn about Max and really like him. And like you said, his performance is not that compelling.
Yeah.
And along with that, even Adam from Parks and Rec and from Step Brothers and stuff like you know what I mean. Like as a dad, you're sitting there and it's hard to take him serious because he plays serious in these funny roles on like Step Brothers and stuff like that. So like you're seeing him, you're just like, dude, I don't believe you.
Yeah, he's almost typecast as like a serious no nonsense kind of guy. I mean, Parks and Rec, he's great. He's funny. He delivers like the very dry humor that you and I like.
Yeah.
But so it's almost like he didn't do it as a family man for me.
Absolutely.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Since I picked this movie, I'll go first. Get into my pros here. The good scenery and costume design. I thought the costume designs on the monsters were great. I did like the story premise, and I did like the ending. I'm not going to spoil it. And I touched on it briefly. The second and third acts were great. My favorite scene involves gingerbread men. I'll leave it at that. The cons for me, the cousins and Aunt Judy were unbearable at times. I hated their characters. The first third of this movie for me was hard to get into. You could make the family more lovable and still annoying. See Home Alone, right? Like Home Alone, I didn't hate any of those characters. These characters I hated. Worst scene was meeting the family. I have to pick a number here. My rating, if I go back and forth, if I sit there at the first part of the movie, it's a 5. Ultimately, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 13 donuts. So it's mid-tier, middle of the mid-tier for me. 6 out of 13 for Krampus.
Krampus. I enjoyed the first bit of this. Again, like I said, I watched the first 15, 20, 30 minutes of this film, and I was like, I need to watch this with my family because I thought it was hilarious. It was a good setup, and I was like, before I wanted to see Krampus come and just wreak havoc on this family, I wanted to see a good setup, a good Christmas setup, and all the elements were there for me. You see the grandmother making cookies in there, and at one point the dad kind of comes in there and says, "Hey, don't break your don't hurt yourself making all those cookies." She bought some from the store, and you see those elements, and then you see Jacob Marley come on the TV and say like, if you don't change your path, you're gonna, it's kind of like reverbing back to what's gonna happen. It's kind of like talking about what's gonna happen and all that stuff. So I like that. I like the setup of it because I was expecting Krampus to come in full force, and he kind of does. There's some we'll talk about that here in the next segment. in the scene by scene, but there's a kid that goes missing, and the parents are not really convincing as far as like I was just like, yeah, your kid's missing. Your
Like
kid,
they're not concerned at all.
yeah. Oh, she'll be back. I just like it. Just seems like Krampus has some minions with him that does some dirty work. I would rather see more Krampus and less minions. I love Krampus. I thought he was great. I loved his character. You don't see a lot of him in this film at all.
Yeah.
So I didn't see good execution on the second half. I do like the isolate. You do feel isolated, like in The Thing. That snowy atmosphere where these people are trapped. There's nowhere to go. I like that element.
All the neighbors are on vacation.
Yeah, neighbors are on vacation. Yeah. And again, that draws from like Home Alone and all that stuff. Like, oh yeah, they're on vacation. Nobody's here. No one can help you. And I see I love how he picked from Christmas movies. And he really established that really well. And he picked from a lot of Halloween and horror films. So he established that very well. But I just feel like the execution towards the end and stuff. And I did not like the ending as much. And like you said, the family, even the second family that comes in, they are not likable at all. You hate them. Mm. You really hate them a lot, like they're just not, and it's almost like to the point of just like goofy how bad these people suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, so again, I didn't like that part. I feel like this movie could have been great, and it was just mid for me. So I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 13. I think they could have done so much better. I love Krampus, and I love the Christmas element. I love the setup and all that stuff. But yeah, there's just something off about this film, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said there. And like I said, for me, I was bouncing back and forth between a 5 and a 6.
Yeah.
If I focus on the parts I hated, it's a 5.
Yeah.
If I focus on just the parts I liked, it's a 6.
Yeah,
so it's funny that we both have differing opinions though on what we liked.
That's funny. I can't believe you didn't like that first half. I love that the first third of it. Anyway,
I mean, Koshner was good, but yeah,
yeah. There, again, and like some of those jokes just didn't land for me. Like you said with the ant. Some of her jokes. It may be in a movie theater. With a couple of drinks in me, and it's maybe leading up to Christmas, and I'm with a bunch of other people, and maybe the movie theater like laughs and stuff. Maybe I would have laughed, but that didn't happen in our movie room upstairs. So some of those jokes just didn't land. I was just like, that was stupid. She just said she comes off as annoying.
Yeah, for sure.
All right,
totally agree.
Okay, well, where did we watch this film? It was free.
I saw it on Peacock.
Peacock.
You probably did as well.
Yeah, go watch this. It's the Christmas season. It's not a horrible film, but it's not going to change your life. So get your family up in the movie room and watch this. Put a Christmas sweater on. Make everybody some hot chocolate. Make sure you put some marshmallows in there. Melt them really good, and then put Krampus on and watch this film before we spoil it in this scene by scene. Okay. Let's get into Krampus. Along with children Max and Beth and their German-speaking grandmother Omi, Tom and Sarah Engel host a holiday party at home for the extended family. Sarah's sister Linda arrives with husband Howard, children Jordan, Stevie, Howie Jr., and baby Chrissy, and the sister's overbearing aunt Dorothy.
I don't like them all. Only Howard can stay. The rest can get kicked out. And we talked about this earlier, but they missed the opening scene, right?
Yes.
Where it's a Black Friday at a store, and for some reason in this store there's like a play going on.
I think we're just seeing a montage. I'm guessing, or maybe it's like a big mall up north or something like that, and just like seeing all like it's just they're just trying to set this thing up,
Yeah.
So you're seeing that like that Christmas rush of just like their sales on some just a bunch of crap, and just people are fighting over it, and like it's in slow motion. You're just seeing the worst of people. The cashiers who are ringing people up are just like, they have these frowns on their face, but they have Santa hats on. It just like I thought that was so funny. I just thought it's very ironic, I was just they're like sitting there like and the people waiting in line with this stuff, with these Christmas presents, are in like, they're just like in the worst mood ever. They look like they're hating their lives, and you're just sitting there. And Bing Crosby, I think, is singing, "It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas," and everybody's just so freaking sad and depressed. And I was just like, this is ironic and hilarious. I love the irony of that, because Christmas is supposed to be so much more than that. But in America, we've made it into this. Into that, we've made it into it. Sometimes it can be not to that extreme, but sometimes it can be pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little over the top for me, because you had like the cops are just sitting there laughing as they're tasing people on the ground or whatever. Yeah. I did like the guy getting stepped on. I mean, that legit happens,
Yeah, that really does happen. I like that. Yeah. And like you said, so we meet the family, but the family's like, you're seeing this kid, Max, getting in a fight during his, I guess, school play.
Yeah. Or he's part of it, I guess he's part of the play. And then it shows them beating each other up, and it shows his sister, Beth. She's sitting there like recording it live or something.
Phone, yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah. And then it cuts to a scene, and Omi's in there she's making cookies, man. Just making cookies like she's made for years for Christmas, just enjoying the Christmas season. You're seeing Omi, you're like, man, she knows how to celebrate Christmas, the right way. Yeah. And like, cause there's like peace about her. There's like she's in there. There's like Christmas music going. There's a Christmas carols on in the background. It's very quiet. And then the family comes in, and they're just fighting, and about like what their son just did and all this stuff, and Omi's son, Adam, whatever his name is. Anyway, he comes up and he like kisses her on the cheek, and he's like, "Oh, don't make too many cookies. So and so bought some from the store." And just like to me, I just love all of that,
Yeah, because he's even like taking a work call, and his wife's like, "Hey, you're working?"
Oh yeah.
And his name is Tom, by the way. And he's like,
"Tom, thank you for that." Because I was just gonna be like, work, Adam. I was gonna call him Adam for the rest of the podcast.
But yeah, so he's like, "Yeah, I didn't say I didn't have to take a phone call or something." So you can tell he just he's not in the Christmas spirit anymore.
Is it Max? Is that the kid's name?
The kid's name is Max.
Oh, so Max is like, are we not gonna watch Charlie Brown and what open Christmas presents, or like wrap Christmas presents or something like that? I don't know.
Or make hot chocolate, or and watch Charlie Brown, or whatever they do, whatever tradition they have.
But anyway, Max and Omi have this special relationship. Omi speaks German here. Directly in German, and you're like, oh, okay, so Omi can't speak English, so she's speaking straight German, and Max understands her speaking in German, but he only speaks in English himself.
That's what I was curious about too, because it's like she only speaks English when it's convenient for the plot.
Yes. Well, now, so here's my theory on this. So I had a friend named Juan Zuniga growing up. You know Juan.
I've heard of him.
Yeah. So he grew up here in the States. His family, they're Hispanic. They speak Spanish. He understood it. So when you're in his house, his mom would speak Spanish to him, and he would talk to her in English. You know what I mean? But he couldn't carry on a conversation with her in Spanish, but he understood what she was saying.
Gotcha.
So this is that. So that's my insight on that. I don't know if this was just a huge mistake in film history, or if that's what they were trying to capture. But that's what I remember. And he would tell you to this day, I don't know how to speak Spanish. You know what I mean? No, I grew up here. You know what I mean? I grew up here. I don't know. Right. No, I don't know. But he understood what his mom was saying.
Yeah. And you know what else it can do?
What?
He can bowl a 300.
He
I do know
did. He
that.
bowled a 300. Dang it. Dang you, Juan Zuniga.
Shout out Juan.
Yeah. Anyway, chaos erupts during dinner when Jordan and Stevie bully Max over a heartfelt letter that he wrote to Santa Claus. A sudden snowstorm ensues after Max tears up this letter and gives up on Christmas. Electrical power and phone lines go down. A strange snowman appears outside, as does a sack of presents on the doorstep.
For me, this scene is insufferable. It's the type of scene that makes me yell at the TV. Why is Beth stopping him from getting his heartfelt piece of paper back? I thought she also hated the cousins, right? She doesn't like the cousins, but she's like almost teaming up with them to like embarrass Max.
Yeah.
It's infuriating. Why are the parents not intervening?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they're talking, but then they're also watching it unfold.
Yeah.
Like you can see Tom / Ben Wyatt / Adam sitting at the head of the table, like watching a cousin read a heartfelt letter and getting picked on, and they don't do anything.
Yeah.
I hate the extended family. Sorry, go ahead.
This extended family, they knock on the door, and I mean, it's literally cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation. I mean, like, dude is a redneck. They make sure to point out that he's very conservative, and you know what I mean. Like they have lots of guns and stuff, which helps out here in the near future.
It does.
And he's driving a Hummer, this gas guzzling Hummer, and they have like 1,000 kids, and he has 2 girls that he wishes they were boys, you know. And again, so like, and Max, that you know, they're very tough. That they, you know, you could tell that they've grown up a different life, but they kind of bully Max about still believing in Santa Claus, which of course they allude earlier in this film that he's been bullied about this before. So Santa Claus, he's just like dead set on Santa, you know. Max is like,
And I think,
Santa.
yeah, I think that is why he got into the fight in the beginning, is because one of the boys in the play was telling kids that Santa wasn't real.
Yeah, that's what he was
So Max took offense to that and started beating him up.
Yeah. And he was like, yeah, they shouldn't be talking about Santa like that. And then he stops for a second. And he's like, you know, for the little kids, you know.
Yeah. He's still got that Christmas in his heart.
Yeah, Max has that Christmas in his heart. And it looks like Omi is probably playing a big point into this, because she at one point whispers to Max, "Did you write that letter? You know, did you write that letter?" And then Max is like, "Of course I wrote that letter. It's in his back pocket." The cousins, these tough redneck cousins, see that sticking out of his pocket, and they're like, "We're gonna get that letter from him." They get it from him. Mm-hmm. They're reading it at the table, and man, is it embarrassing. He's like, what is he wishing for? He's like, hey, I wish my mom and dad I wish they loved each other again, or something like that. Didn't they say that?
Yeah, he's even wishing good stuff for the cousins family.
Yeah.
So I wish things weren't so hard for my cousin's family or whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yes. And then so it sets Max up as a sweet kid. Right.
Yeah, sure. And I I have no problem with Howard. His character is funny.
Why do you love Howard?
He's talking. He's funny, man. I mean, he's a good character.
I think secretly Howard reminds you of a family member that you have, and you like, hey, I love him. I love him anyway. Hey, I have. I just dropped mine. A decoration just came off the wall there. Anyway, so Howard, he's hilarious and he's funny. He's like poking at Tom. He's poking at Tom, and like he's poking at Tom there at the table, and he's like, oh, like so did you ever like play football, or did you were you ever blah blah? Yeah. Did you ever do this? And he's like, no, I was an Eagle Scout though. And he like kind of made fun of him for that, you know. But the Eagle Scout does come into play a little bit later in the film,
mm-hmm.
You know, because at one point he has to wrap up. Like dude gets a pretty good gash or bite
Yeah.
on his leg, and he has to wrap that up for him. So
Mhm.
there's some good writing in here, you know, if you pay attention amongst
A little bit.
amongst the goofiness. But yeah, the cousins, they take Mac's letter and they read it, and the last thing that's on there is like you know something about them about their Uncle Howard wanting just boys, wanting them to be boys, you know, because they do they're two girls, but they're dressed up just like two boys about to go hunting, you know, kind of thing. Which
Yeah,
is
you could have fooled me. I thought they were boys all the time.
yeah, and they're in their
Even
they're
now.
in their wrestling and stuff. It's comical. It's funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
Beth leaves to check on her boyfriend Derek and encounters Krampus bounding throughout the snow-covered neighborhood. Beth hides underneath a DHL van with a dead delivery man inside. Krampus goes away but leaves behind a jack-in-the-box. A creature emerges from the toy and attacks Beth.
Yeah, go out into the audible blizzard, little girl. Have you ever heard a blizzard? As soon as they open the door, it's like you never hear that. Like you can hear the wind when you open the door.
Yeah,
But they're like, yeah, go ahead, check on your boyfriend.
Yeah, it's nuts.
I did like the intro for Krampus. I like the intro where he's jumping from house to house, and this synopsis, this brilliant synopsis leaves out the fact that the DHL guy, he delivered a bag, or he delivered a box, and there was already a bag on the front porch that they took inside.
Yeah.
And the DHL guy's like, that's not mine. It must be somebody else.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like Krampus left all his toys, you know, on the front porch for him.
Yeah. Max tears that note up. He gets made fun of, and yeah, you see that note, the pieces of it kind of like going up into the wind, you know, and like something mystical and crazy happening with that, which is nuts because you're seeing this horrible family with these horrible kids, and you're thinking Krampus should come and kill all of these horrible kids, and the one kid who has heart is the reason Krampus is coming, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's a crazy deal there, but I guess, you know, and they explain it okay enough, I guess, later, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they explain why Krampus came is because he gave up hope and all that kind of fun stuff. But
Beth is like FaceTiming her boyfriend Derek, and she's like, "Oh, my family's here," and blah blah blah, and all this stuff. You see that, and then the next day, this blizzard has come. And it's like, I mean, it's hardcore. This blizzard's ridiculous, right?
yeah, it's audible. Like you can hear the thing.
Yeah, like
when you open the door.
You
It's
open
crazy.
They filmed this in New Zealand, and I was looking at that, and I was like, oh, I guess for the snow and stuff, but they did it in the middle of summer, so all the snow that you're seeing is either synthetic or CGI. How about that?
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But anyway, so Beth is like FaceTiming her boyfriend, and the next day she's like, oh, he's not, you know, like a normal teen would like worry about. But the fact that the family is just going to let Beth walk out there, like you said, just like go out to her boyfriend, like, no, you know, you're not going. You're going to, like, that's ridiculous out there. No, you're not going.
Unheard of.
But
that they would let her go out.
Yeah,
and even if it's 4 blocks away,
it's only 4 blocks away. Anyway, it's crazy. It's nuts. On the way there, you see Krampus for the first time. This is the best. This is the best. I love Krampus jumping from house to house. She's scared to death.
Cool.
She's scared to death, and I'm like, this is awesome. And then she hides. She tries to get into this van, but again, there's that delivery guy who brought those packages earlier, and he's frozen to death inside his van.
I was about to say, did she see him dead or? Yeah, so she saw him dead.
Oh,
and then like hides under his van.
Oh yeah,
or
and she gets out of the van and she's like, you know. And just like, what's going to happen? And then you see his hooves eventually.
Yeah.
I love that. I was just like, yes. And then he leaves. But then there's like
Yeah.
that Jack in the Box. And you're just like, oh, Santa always leaves a present, but this is a Krampus present. I love that. So I thought that was a great scene. And then then some creepy toy pops out, and then you just see the van shaking violently, and then you don't know what happens to her. You assume she's dead.
That's where it got fun for me. Was like, okay, here's a toy, here's something's going down. You see Krampus finally, and I'm finally like, okay, now the movie's picking up.
Yeah. But the way the family reacts to Beth being gone is like, it should be hysteria. It should be tears. It should be freaking out. It should be a lot of things. But they're just kind of like, she's okay.
Yeah.
She'll be fine.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Later that evening, Omi wants Tom and Howard not to go out, but the men take Howard's truck to search for Beth. Tom and Howard find a stranded snowplow with its glass punched in. Tom and Howard find inside of Derek's house that it's ransacked and covered in snow. The men follow Beth's screams outside where something tries to pull Howard underneath the snow. Tom shoots at the unseen creature as it flees. This is kind of where Tom gets Howard's respect, right?
Yeah, he does, and it shows also where Howard has all those guns in his. It looks like some kind of upgraded Hummer or something.
Oh yeah.
He's like, I think later on he's like, can this thing get us out of here? He's like, you could point her due east and she'll be storming the beaches of Normandy at sundown.
When he was so confident. And when Derek I'm sorry, when Tom came to Howard and was like, hey, do you think you're like when he came to him with that, and like whatever Howard was saying was pure gold. He said about 3-4 sentences. He was just so ready. He's like, he basically, he was like, why didn't you ask me sooner? Let's go out and get this.
You'd never ask.
Yeah, let's do this. But they get to Derek, which is the boyfriend's house, and you could tell that it's deserted. It's something crappy, something shady's happened.
Is it me, or does it look like it's just been abandoned for decades? There's like icicles hanging off the banister. I'm like, how'd they get there? Like, this just happened. This blizzard just happened, but this house looks like it's been abandoned for years.
Well, so Omi kind of like in the beginning, like she kind of sees and knows what's going on. She said, let's keep the fires lit, So if at Derek's house, they didn't keep the fires lit, then here comes Krampus, down the chimney.
You got him.
Yeah. So I that's what I was assuming, because it did show a big crack down that chimney at Derek's house. So
and looking ahead a little bit, we didn't talk about it, but I guess the truck got crushed at some point also before Howard got bit. The truck is gone. Lucinda is the truck's name, because of course it has a name.
It does have a name. That's one of the funnier parts. Yeah, you're right. Howard, I love Howard at this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Their truck's destroyed, like you just said. Tom and Howard, they frantically return to the house while everyone sleeps later that night. How can they sleep that night, Chris?
For real. Like, you would be still worried to death about Beth.
They go to sleep, Chris. They just the parents, they get let's get some shut-eye. That will help us.
The kids are eating all the battery out of the phones and devices and stuff.
Crazy. It is just nuts. After they went to the boyfriend's house and saw that it was destroyed. I mean, it's crazy. Whatever.
Yeah.
While everyone sleeps later that night. Yeah. Krampus lowers a gingerbread man down the chimney that attracts Howie's attention. Howie bites the cookie, which turns sentient. Is that what it says? And captures Howie. Howie's pulled up that chimney while the Woken family fights futilely to save him. A fire breaks out at the same time and destroys the Christmas tree. Man.
All right. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That when that kid ate into that gingerbread head, it did look delicious. Like I might have eaten.
I probably
I
would
might
take
have
a
taken
bite
a
too.
bite too.
Howie was hilarious. Why was his upper?
Yeah.
Why did his upper lip look like that? Like
Who's this?
Howie, little baby Howie, Howard Jr.
Oh, I didn't
Howard
see
Jr.
anything.
Like, yeah, he walked in. He was just like, he looked like Napoleon, like that, like just like,
Oh yeah, I
yeah.
know what
And
you're talking about. He's like,
his upper lip was like this. He's sitting at the dinner table.
yeah.
He has like a 3 liter of just Mountain Dew, and he's just like downing it. And Howard's like, yes, that, and he burps, and Howard's like, that's my boy, that's my boy, and he's like, he's gonna be a lineman and all this stuff, and just and Max tries to have a conversation with him, and Howie Jr. just like staring at him,
He just
like this.
stares at him. Ugh.
It's so
I
funny.
didn't like Howie Jr.
Yeah.
I'm glad he got taken.
So yeah, so
one
is that
thing
like,
that we didn't talk about
yeah, let's
is
hear
oh gosh, hang on. I just lost my train of thought. So
don't do that.
okay, fire breaks out. Howie, where he's
Yes.
like, a shepherd must protect the
Oh,
sheep or his flock
yes.
or something.
Yes.
They say it like 5 times
They
by this
do.
point, and you're just like, oh my god, it's getting old. But it's funny because he says it, and then like it cuts to the scene, and he's like sleeping. The fire's gone out.
Yeah, he was supposed to stay up and keep watch.
Yeah.
He was
I guess you
all
gotta move
so
the
he
plot
was
along somehow.
he was basically all talk.
Yeah.
I like Howard.
I don't know.
Yeah,
He had a bunch of guns. It looked
yeah.
cool.
He did have a lot of guns. He gave his wife's gun to
He's
Tom.
like, it's heavy.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, that's Pam's or something.
Oh, so funny. All right, anyway. Jordan and Stevie are lured to the attic by Krampus minions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry. Omi tells everyone the story of how Krampus comes for feuding families who have given up on the spirit of Christmas. Omi explains that Krampus killed her family, but spared Omi to live as a reminder of what happens when holiday hopes are abandoned. And this is in I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're about to say it. This is the cool animation part.
Yes.
Like, it's pretty cool, right? I mean,
Yeah, I love it. I
it's
mean,
not
like,
terrible.
yeah, it's very nightmare. What was it?
Krampus winks at her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Nightmare Before Christmas. A lot of animation. Those old Rudolph and like those old Christmas movies. It's kind of winks at that. But she does this in English.
Well, thankfully, because I didn't want to read subtitles the whole time while I'm looking at that cool animation.
Yeah.
I could tell though from the beginning that she had a story about Krampus.
Oh, definitely.
Could you tell?
Oh, yeah.
Even from the opening scene.
Oh,
it's
knew.
like she's gonna be the one that tells us about Krampus.
Yeah. At the same time, like, Omi, why couldn't you have warned us about this beforehand? You know, like couldn't you see it? You saw it, right? Like, why don't you just go ahead and say, hey, you're acting like a bunch of pieces of crap here, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you need to.
You all need to have a lot more Christmas spirit around here.
Yeah. Or this is over with.
But later after this movie, Omi would go on to join a Swedish cult and sacrifice herself in the name of the Enlightened Ones.
No, she did not.
Fun fact.
Was that her in Midsommar?
No, but it seems like it would be her.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I just had to type that down when I was watching it. I was
that's
like,
so good.
this looks like something from Midsommar.
Yes.
She's definitely
After that, she went back home.
She got lost in Sweden on the way to Germany and joined a cult.
Yeah. Which they end their life at 72 or something like that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good
She's
for
there.
her. Good for Omi. You know?
Good for Omi.
I like that. Jordan and Stevie are lured to the attic by Krampus's minions, and they are swallowed by the Jack-in-the-Box clown. Now grown to an enormous size, Stevie is rescued, but Jordan vanishes. Gingerbread men terrorize Howard in the kitchen while the other adults confront sentient dolls upstairs. Did you like the
That
Jack?
is a lot to unpack.
Yeah. The
There's a lot to go on there.
They go upstairs. There's like this crazy. The minions are the Krampus's minions are running amok this house. You got this big creepy Jack in the Box thing that when it opens its mouth, there's all these teeth and slime, and it swallows one of Howard's children. One of the girls, and that's nuts. And there's also these gingerbread men who like provide like a comic relief almost, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did. Like one of those was voiced by Seth Green, or two of them.
Really?
Yeah, but they didn't even talk. They were just like laughing and shooting a nail gun at Howard.
That kind of reminded me of Gremlins a little bit. When I was seeing the gingerbread man, I was like, "Oh, that's very Gremlins of this film."
So why don't you just admit that in your heart of hearts, Gremlin is a 13 for you, and you didn't admit it on the podcast?
I like Gremlins. I didn't give it a bad number. Go back and look at that episode. I didn't give it a bad number. I like Gremlins.
Well,
I might watch Gremlins every Christmas with my children. Okay?
Along with Krampus.
Krampus. Yes, I'm going to watch this.
This was my favorite scene. I did like the gingerbread man. They don't really talk about the creepy ass tree topper either. That angel looking thing that was up
crazy.
In the rafters.
That was nuts.
It like managed to almost like hang Sarah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
That was crazy.
Who saved
that
her? It was her sister, right? Her sister saved her?
Her sister finally threw off the teddy bear.
Ooh.
Right?
That
had a bunch of teeth that was trying to bite it.
Oh, that looks so creepy. That looked good.
She stabbed
to me, the
icicle.
gingerbread men were very CGI, right? So I feel like they were not my favorite.
Yeah. I liked how they I mean I see what you're saying. I just like the comical part of that where the last one is like about to stab Howard and then the dog eats it.
Yes.
That
I could see. I could see like again, like in the movie theater, like, oh, that'd be pretty fun, like that kind of thing. But to me, I like the practical effects. I like the ones up in the attic. I like Krampus. Again, I would have liked Krampus to be the terrorizer in this and not his minions as much. But I get it. I get why they did it. And knowing that this is Dotery and the guy who did Trick or Treat, that sounds pretty legit, of why,
Yeah.
That's
so you want a little more Krampus and a little less minions.
Is that wrong? Call me old fashioned.
No, I agree with you. I did like a few of the minions, but they could have cut out a few of them and focused more on Krampus.
Krampus minions overrun the house. They take Aunt Dorothy and Chrissy, thank goodness. Howard's also pulled away when he attempts to rescue his infant daughter. The minions scatter and they leave at the sound of a Krampus arrival on the rooftop. Tom, Sarah, Max, Linda, and Stevie decide to make a break for the abandoned snowplow. Omi willingly stays behind in order to finally face Krampus. Good for Omi.
I had a lame joke that said, Omi, don't play that, but I'll probably cut that out of the podcast.
Omi, don't play that.
Omi, don't play it. I did like the character design of Krampus that we've talked about. I loved it.
Yeah.
And I guess they're too confused to have feelings that their entire family is dead.
Yeah.
There's only like a few of them left, and they're just like, hey, we're going to make a break for the snowplow.
Yeah. You would think there'd be more crying, snot bubbling, and just like shaking and all that stuff. They're like, no, we're gonna make it for the snowplow, man. We're gonna go to McDonald's out of town,
Yeah.
Like it just, at that point you're just like kind of rolling your eyes. I don't know.
Yeah, this feels. I'll mention it after the next paragraph, but this part of the movie just feels really rushed.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It does. Like hearing Omi's stop motion, like this kind of like sets in motion what you're seeing and stuff, like her parents getting killed by Krampus, and like didn't he give her like some kind of ornament, like some kind of like little ball on a string.
It looked like a bell. It was
Yeah, like a bell. He's like, here.
Jingle bell.
Yeah, so she held onto that. It's like to remind her that if you suck, Krampus is going to come and kill your entire family, which is, whatever. Krampus emerges from the chimney with a bag of toys that devour Omi. When creatures attack outside, Tom has everyone go on ahead while he protects them with a shotgun. A creature pulls Tom underneath the snow. Sarah and Linda are also pulled beneath the snow, right as Max and Stevie make it into the plow.
It just kills or captures
Just
like
starts killing everybody off.
Seven main characters, right? Like all in 3 minutes.
It was almost like the studio was like, "Hey, you've been shooting this film for like 6 months. Time to wrap this up now.
We got to get out of here.
You got to start killing some of these
Yeah,
people."
it all feels rushed. I had it in the notes too where they had to finish the rest of the family off before the movie ended. And at this point, you kind of lose your sensitivity to it.
Yeah.
Everybody else has been quote unquote killed.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're just kind of like, okay, well, there they go. Like, who cares anymore?
Yeah. It's just, like you said, it feels odd. It feels campy. It feels a little goofy, Feels very Gremlins like the Gremlins are running amok in the town and oh no, it just feels like that. Like there's no real depth of feeling. Just people just die, and it's like, oh, look how these minions can kill these people. It's just kind of goofy, but there's no like, oh my god, there's none of that. Like it just feels it feels a little campy, which is. Maybe that's what they wanted. It does not, like the cover of this film does not convey that.
Mm-hmm. It conveyed killing, slashing, death by Krampus is what it conveyed.
Minions surround the plow and they pull Stevie away from through the snow. Krampus appears before Max, dropping a Krampus sleigh bell, the classic Krampus sleigh bell ornament, surrounded by torn scraps from Max's letter to Santa Claus, and then Krampus vanishes.
So, quick question. Did you know at this point that they were all just being captured, or did you think that Krampus was killing them?
I thought he was killing them one by one. I didn't know they were captured.
Right, because it was like they're just kind of taking them.
Yeah.
And this movie glossed over the elves breaking in.
The elves,
or the synopsis.
Yeah.
The elves break in, and then they steal like the baby, and then that's when Howard jumps on, and then drags him away too.
Well, we talked
Aunt
about
Judy gets ejected from the window.
They called them minions a little bit. Minions. It's all just minions.
Elves.
Yeah. The elves weren't that impressive. They just came out of nowhere. Yeah, it's just Krampus was the most impressive thing about this film, and I really think they could have. He was the guy in the film. It was the name of the film. He was jumping from house to house. He didn't need all this help that he got, and I wanted more. I wanted more of him.
You know what this movie could have used is more gremlins.
They needed some gremlins. They really did.
Be sure to check out our Minions podcast. Or our Gremlins podcast.
You just called it Minions. That's funny.
Same thing.
We could do Minions, yeah. Max walks through the snow and finds a nightmarish assembly of Krampus minions and captured family members. Max shouts that he rescinds or he wants back his wish, and while demanding that Krampus release his family, Max tosses the sleigh bell into the snow, and then the ground cracks open to reveal a fiery pit. Max tells Krampus to take him instead of my family. Krampus holds Max over the pit after Max apologizes with an explanation that he only wanted Christmas to be like it used to be. Krampus lets go, dropping Max into the fire pit.
Yeah. Kind of strange, but whatever. I mean, I guess you got to get to that dream transition somehow, right?
Exactly. And then here we go. Max,
and we were watching this, and the wife was like, was it all a dream? Seriously? And I'm
Yeah.
like, honey, I don't know. I guess maybe.
That's what Krampus made it. Max wakes up in his bed on Christmas morning. Downstairs, he finds his entire family just enjoying the holiday together. Max is the only one who recalls the previous events and presumes it to have been a bad dream until he unwraps a Krampus sleigh bell. The family suddenly exchanges certain looks with one another as the camera pulls back to show that the Ingle home inside a snow globe within the Krampus lair.
And I liked it. I liked the end that it showed where they aren't free. They are captured by Krampus, and they're forced to live eternity, waking up every Christmas morning and have to enjoy each other.
Like it's Groundhog Day, right? No, it's not.
Yeah.
Everything's back to normal. They're enjoying a Christmas morning. This is just like Home Alone, when the parents make it home on Christmas morning on time and everything's fine. Kevin, what did you do to my room? That's what this is. You know, that's the ending that he was going for here.
Well, that's not what I gathered. I didn't see it as a happy ending. I thought you would have liked that about this movie, where it's not a happy ending.
I saw the happy. I guess Krampus, he's like watching him in the snow globe. I just thought, to me, it just looked like he was just watching him. Like he's just like, oh, like he was, like he's just always watching. Like the Santa Claus, he gave his son a snow globe, and he's like, anytime you want to see me, just shake the snow globe and I'll be there. It's like that kind of thing. I just like, it was just a way, it was just a conduit of how, of like, I could be there at any time, so you better watch what you're doing, guys. You know, I don't.
So you better watch out.
Our
next podcast.
You better watch out our next podcast.
But okay, so real quick,
yeah.
When Max opens up the present and you see the sleigh bell, the family just kind of like looks really disconcerted, and they're like looking at him and looking at the bell, and it's almost like they're remembering that. I don't know. I have to read a little more about that, but
nobody remembered it, but Max. So, they're taken aback. I don't know. Maybe it's like I don't know. Maybe like a
they looked concerned,
like a deja vu moment or something.
Could have been, yeah. I'll have to research that.
Yeah. I like that.
But yeah, next podcast. Better watch out.
Better watch out.
That's coming up.
We're keeping it with the Christmas theme. Better watch out. Take a look at that. Subscribe so you don't miss anything, guys.